Let's talk some presidential politics. You recently said that a Trump presidency in 20...
Now, let me, again, the first thing that he says, let's talk some presidential politics. Can anybody name for me who the celebrity, non-politician, non-political experienced person is that the mainstream media gets to represent other groups of people? Is there any?
2024 would be the end of democracy. Do you get heat then for your criticism of President Biden?
Now, Charlamagne said that if Trump wins, it'll be the end of democracy. Now, let me ask you guys a question. Was C-19 a pause in democracy? If the lockdowns from C-19 were a pause in democracy, give me a thumbs up. If they were not, then give me a thumbs down. Let me ask you guys another question. Is Brandon Johnson not allowing Chicago residents to go to city council meetings to discuss the migrant crisis? Is that a threat to democracy? Here's another one. Is the super mayor of Dalton, Illinois, using her political power to attack her opponents? Is that a breakdown in democracy? Let me know.
Let's talk some presidential politics. You recently said that a Trump presidency in 2024 would be the end of democracy. Do you get heat then for your criticism of President Biden?
Oh yeah, I get heat from both sides. I got bots from both sides in my mentions. You know, I got Democrat bots and I got MAGA bots. I'll be honest with you, they're a little sloppy now. You know, there used to be a time where they used to be on point, like they would only post under.
So do you guys remember on BLR2 when we talked about the quote unquote skeptic grift? If you guys remember the skeptic grift, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't remember the skeptic grift, then give me a thumbs down. Charlamagne the God is posing as if he has skepticisms and critiques of Joe Biden. However, ultimately, what he's doing is he's attempting to utilize all of the popular talking points of things that people complain about when it comes to Joe Biden. And then what he's going to do is he's going to circle the wagon and turn around and say, with all of these critiques, he's still a better choice than Trump because Trump is the apocalypse, without giving any reason of why Trump or not voting would be the apocalypse. This is a skeptic grift. What he's doing is he's taking talking points from New Black Media, independent Black media, and other actual legitimate people who are disgruntled Democrats that actually have legitimate gripes and talking points. He's attempting to adopt all of those. He knows that the mainstream media will give him a free platform to have verbal diarrhea all over the place. And then he's using not only these mainstream media platforms, but his Breakfast Club platform to then attempt to try to fearmonger and shame people into voting blue, no matter who. He's going to tell you all of the critiques that he has about Joe Biden and then turn around and tell you to vote for Joe Biden. Does that make any sense? If that makes sense, give me a thumbs up. If it doesn't make sense, give me a thumbs down. Shout out to Miss Niecy. What's going on with you, Miss Niecy?
Political post, but I could literally post like a picture of Garfield and it'll say, oh, this is the type of rhetoric that's going to get Donald Trump reelected, or I'll get, oh, you're just a Democratic shill, MAGA 2024. So I get it from both sides.
Yeah. Now you talk a lot about racial issues on the show, and recent polls.
Does Charlamagne talk a lot about racial issues? Whoa, hold up. What racial issues does Charlamagne talk about? You know, one thing that I never heard him talk about? I never heard him talk about how he works for a radio company that spend a lot of money promoting degeneracy, and his man, DJ Envy, took advantage of a lot of Black people with his promoting of Cesar Pena and the real estate scam. I never heard him talk about those racial issues. But now here's my question. What racial issues does Charlamagne have deep discussions about on the Breakfast Club? Now, when they have guests that talk about those kind of things, Dr. Claude Anderson come on there, Dame Dash brought some things up, Umar Johnson, I think I said Dr. Claude Anderson already. I think Dick Gregory was on the Breakfast Club at one point. A lot of the guests that they have will bring those conversations up and they'll talk about those things. But what kind of deep intellectual discussions about quote unquote racial issues other than Democrat shill racial issues has Charlamagne ever brought up? When has Charlamagne ever brought up how to deal with the racial wealth gap? When has Charlamagne ever brought up the extinction agenda? The displacement agenda? When has Charlamagne ever brought up any of that stuff? Somebody make it make sense. And real quick, shout out to Miss Nisi. Make sure you guys show some love. She's the first stream sponsor with 10 ducats. Definitely appreciate it. Make sure you guys show her some love. Please throw some radiation emoji, ducks, flames in the chat for her. Definitely appreciate it. Thank you, Miss Nisi. Definitely appreciate you.
Suggest that Donald Trump is actually gaining among African Americans. A recent poll showed in 6 battles.
And that right there, that is what Charlamagne's job is. Right now, is Trump the way? I wouldn't say he is. You know what I'm saying? I would say that some policies that Trump have make more sense than voting for Biden. But is Trump the end all be all? No. He can't possibly be the end all be all. We are the end all be all. We got to deal with our own thing. You know what I'm saying? And there's no Joe Biden or no Trump that's going to do anything to help get us out of anything that we're in. It's got to be us, only us. You know what I'm saying? We don't owe anybody any help, or we don't owe anybody any thank you for anything that's gone down or anything that we've achieved. It's us and only us. You know what I'm saying? But now, as far as a politician who might have policies that are better or worse, those would take discussions that you would have to watch some of my past live streams to see my thoughts on. However, people basing their votes on research and leading them to one conclusion or another is something that I can get behind. So for the people that have done deep research and they believe that Trump is a better choice than Joe Biden, more power to you. I support you for being an independent thinker and not just voting blue, no matter who. This right here, these people who are moving away from the Democrat Party and are actually leaning towards Trump, this is what Charlamagne has been sent in to disrupt. And he ought to be ashamed of himself for being a hired, useful idiot. But there is no shame. So we just got to point it out and identify it, which is what we're doing here. Now, here's the other important question that we got to ask. Charlamagne has been on Fox, NBC, ABC, and now NewsNation. Here's my question for you all, ladies and gentlemen. Why? And real quick, shout out to everybody that's watching. We got 49 people watching and we got 30 likes. If everybody could take a moment, smash that like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, take a moment, hit that bell. And if you haven't shared the stream to your social media, please take a moment and share the stream to your social media.
The key battleground states, 22% say they'll support Donald Trump. Compare that to the fact that he got 8% of the black vote in 2020 and 6% of the...
Shout out to Miss Nisi. Miss Nisi says, vote couch 2024. To all of the people who are voting for couch 2024, I got you apparel right down there in the description box. Go check out some of the couch 2024 apparel. You know what I'm saying? We're not talking about the card table. We're not talking about the love seat. If you truly support the couch, check out the merch. You know what I'm saying? Check out the merch. And I'll tell you what, nothing goes better with the couch than the folding chair. You know what I'm saying? If you guys agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down.
Black vote in 2016. You think these numbers are real?
No, I mean, I do think that there will be a bump, but I can't see him getting, 22% of the black vote. And I mean, I think the conversation that, people should be having, it isn't even just about whether somebody's black or whether somebody's white. I think, people are just looking at...
So there you go. Charlamagne's already babbling. Now the reporter came on and said, Charlamagne, you talk about race issues all the time. The first thing Charlamagne does is try to dilute the conversation. Well, it's not about black. It's not about white. And here goes my question. Why can't Charlamagne see Trump increasing in his black support? If Charlamagne himself is not satisfied with the job that Joe Biden has done, then why does Charlamagne not see that other people might not be satisfied with Joe Biden? However, those people might be willing to vote for Trump. Think about that. Aren't those some good questions? Let's get some answers to those questions.
And I do think that there will be a bump, but I can't see him getting, 22% of the black vote. And I mean, I think the conversation that, people should be having, it isn't even just about whether somebody's black or whether somebody's white. I think, people are just looking at the state of the country. And I think there's just a lot of issues that people feel.
It is about whether you're black or white. It is about it. It is about if you're black or white. Shout out to Miss Nisi doubling down on the support. Make sure you guys show Miss Nisi some love with the 10 ducats. Throw some ducks, flames, radiation emoji in the chat. Definitely appreciate you, Miss Nisi. And shout out to Hurricane IQ for being a like enforcer. Make sure y'all throw some like enforcers in the chat for Hurricane IQ. We have specific reasons, right? We have specific reasons why black voters who have voted for Democrats are not happy with the Democrats and why they are exploring other options. Be those options Trump or be those options Couch. What if this is on the ticket? What if Trump runs as the president and he has Couch as the vice president? What you gonna do then? What you gonna do then? That will be a purple wave across the country. How many of y'all think that Trump will pick Couch for the vice president? I think that might change things in a way that we've never seen. And shout out to Talkin and Grubbin Media. That's a fact. Some are just sticking to local issues, like the Sanctuary City issue in Chicago. Those are local issues. Sanctuary City issue in New York. Those are local issues. If I'm not mistaken, Trump had 16% of the black male vote in the last election, the one that he lost. 22 is only an extra 6%. Biden is horrible in each and every one of his approval ratings. Why is getting an extra 6% outside of possibility for Charlamagne? Think about that. And shout out to Win Loser Rug for being a like enforcer. Make sure you guys show Win Loser Rug some love. Throw some radiation emoji in the chat. Throw some like enforcers in the chat. Appreciate you, Win Loser Rug. Appreciate everybody liking bot enforcing. Shout out to Miss Nisi for enforcing the ducats. You know what I'm saying? But we got to ask these questions. The most important question, though, is why is it that the mainstream media is only interested in what Charlamagne has to say? There's a million people out here with a million different things to say. The only voice that the Mayo stream media is interested in is Charlamagne. Have other groups of people been voting for their political party and the political party not delivered on the objectives since the civil rights era? Oh, that's right. Other groups of people haven't had a civil rights era. Have the Democrats delivered for black people since post-slavery? Oh, that's right. I forgot. No other groups of people have dealt with post-slavery. Yeah, it is a racial issue. I'm sorry. Sorry, everybody. I know everybody, especially, them people don't want anybody bringing up race. Sorry, it's about race. Because when they talk about criminality, when they talk about single fathers, or single mothers, when they talk about all that stuff, for some reason, it's perfectly okay for everything to be about race then. But when we're talking about using political objectives to further our interests, oh, don't you be talking about race. We're talking about it. And there's not anybody that's going to do anything to stop us from talking about it. We got specific reasons why we have issues with Democrats. So it absolutely is a focus issue. But Charlamagne is safe. And this is what I'm talking about. This is why I say the race hustling mainstream media, because this is a race hustle. Hey, people on Rumble, you hear that? This is a race hustle. Finding the dumbest person out of a group to attempt to represent the mainstream thought of that group of people. That's a race hustle. They like to call people race hustlers so much, but they don't identify themselves as race hustlers. This is race hustling right here. You get the dumbest person that you can find to try to make them represent an entire group of people. This is race hustling. But I bet you Officer Tatum or Candace Owens, and won't none of them, say anything about that. You know what I'm saying? They reserve calling people race hustlers for, when we call things out like a police officer laying on somebody's neck until they die. Unjustly. Nobody made George Floyd a hero except for the Democrat Party. The Democratic Party made George Floyd a hero to attempt to make money on him and to extract false support based on emotional attachment. We looking at George Floyd like just a regular black person who was the victim of a racist hate crime from a cop gangbanger. That's what we was looking at it as. All this other stuff, they talking about this martyrdom and stuff like that. They can't even keep their story straight. Just like what we talked about with the woke comic books and the woke Star Wars and all that. They literally cannot keep a story straight. Shout out to my man Jerry Bedford with the $20 super chat. Make sure you guys show him some love. Please throw some radiation emoji in the chat, some ducks and some flames for my man Jerry Bedford. Definitely appreciate you, bro. This is one of the reasons why we got to pulverize this stuff. We got to blow this stuff to smithereens.
Like some, candidates are better on, in particular, the economy, in particular, what's going on at the border right now.
So
I don't see him holding. I don't see that holding up.
Shout out to my man Hurricane IQ with the $1.99 super chat with the ducket. Make sure you guys show Hurricane IQ some love. Throw some radiation emoji in the chat, some flames. Make sure y'all show him some love.
General election, 22% of the black vote. I don't see that.
And we're talking about the economy. The numbers sound good, right? But a lot of Americans aren't feeling it. And that's been, and Biden still.
Man.
President Biden?
I did not mean to do that. Where were we at? Now, what I wanted to do was I wanted to talk about the economy, right? Let me ask you guys a question. So Charlamagne said that it's not about black or white. It's not a racial issue, right? Charlamagne said that. Those was his words. And the news anchor didn't ask him that question. The news anchor didn't trap him into asking that question or answering that question that way. The news anchor said, you talk about racial issues on your channel. Charlamagne didn't answer when he said that. And then Charlamagne on his own said it's not a racial issue, right? Now, when it comes to economics, we got a couple extra economic issues that other people in this country don't have. When people talk about economic justice, let me ask you guys this question. What are they talking about when it comes to economic justice? I'll give you a hint. It begins with an R. So when talking about quote unquote economics, if the news anchor asked Charlamagne about quote unquote racial issues, why is he not talking about economic justice, which would be reparations for foundational black Americans, freedmen and ADOS? Why would Charlamagne not bring that up? Because he's safe. This is what safety looks like. This is why they brought him on. This is what being a low risk interview is. Would you guys agree? If you guys agree, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree, give me a thumbs down.
The economy, the numbers sound good, right? But a lot of Americans aren't feeling it. And that's been, and Biden's still way down when compared with Trump when it comes to who would handle the economy better.
Man, the economy impacts every single body, man. And, you look on the news, right? And every news outlet is reporting how amazing the economy is and jobs are being created. But I tell people, until that impact, until it impacts the least of us, until you feel that in the hood or you feel that in rural.
In the hood, shout out to TD Hip Hop Media. How many people watched TD Hip Hop Media's last live stream? TD Hip Hop Media, in that last live stream, where they talked about the hip hop, what was that? The hip hop task force being formed that's not going to do anything. And they keep referencing the hood. Again, there's nothing wrong with the hood. There's nothing wrong with referencing the hood. But when Charlamagne is doing it to this NewsNation news anchor, we know exactly what he's doing. We know exactly what he's doing. Shout out to Mo Fax. Exactly. Why do they equate the hood with black? The hood is a neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? So we got to pay attention to this. Now, again, the news anchor did not force Charlamagne to say any of this. Charlamagne said all of this nonsense on his own volition. What about the people that are in affluent areas? What about the people that just had a house built in a nice area? What about the people that CEOs of companies that just got a promotion? What about those people?
Areas like I'm from in Moncks Corner, South Carolina, it doesn't matter because everything costs more. Like I was reading today how a value meal from McDonald's, the Big Mac combo meal is like $17 in Connecticut. That's insane. So, you can keep saying that the economy is better. You can keep saying that more jobs are being created, but if people aren't feeling it where they actually need it, like I said, in the hood and in those rural areas, it's not going to really, it's just going to be.
If you want to talk about the hood, I guarantee you that 70% of the hood, in the context that Charlamagne is talking about it in, Charlamagne is talking about foundational Black Americans. You know what will fix the economy for foundational Black Americans? I'm going to ask you all that question. What will fix the economy for foundational Black Americans? Now, here's the question. How come Charlamagne hasn't brought up the United States government, the left wing and the right wing's failure to adequately provide compensation to Black people, Black Americans, Freeman, ADOS, and foundational Black Americans of post-slavery and post-civil rights reparations? Shout out to my man Maximus Royalty. What's good with it, bro? Charlamagne has all the opportunity in the world. He got all the air and opportunity in the world to ask these questions. So if Charlamagne is not asking the questions or bringing the issues to light that would inspire further inquiry, that could get more people aware of these type of issues, is he actually representing anybody? So again, if he's not representing anybody based on his performance here, we got to ask the question, what is he doing on there? What is he doing on here? What did they get him for? What did they get him for? Shout out to DSB with the 2 ducats. Appreciate you, bro. Make sure you guys show DSB some love. Throw some flames, radiation emoji in the chat. Cut the check or no vote. Facts. Facts. That couch looking real good. I know y'all got it. It's probably sitting there. Y'all either already on the couch right now or y'all looking at it. Y'all eyeing it from across the room. It's looking real good. It's looking real good, isn't it?
Be a talking point.
On this show, I enjoy having people who disagree with me on the show. I have a lot of debates. I ask a lot of people as the first question, what am I getting wrong? Is there anyone who isn't invited on the Breakfast Club? I mean, I assume you would welcome Donald Trump if he would come on the show, right?
Man, that's an interesting question. How do you ignore somebody who was a former president? How do you ignore, somebody who's running for president now? Like, how do you do that? Like, would NewsNation ignore him?
No, absolutely not.
CNN doesn't ignore him. MSNBC doesn't ignore him. I mean, like all these major news outlets.
The only people that get ignored is us. Shout out to Miss Nisi. She on the recliner right now. Link back. Turn. The only people that get ignored is us. They wouldn't ignore Trump on the Breakfast Club. They would bring him on. They brought Larry Elder on there. They brought Vivek Ramaswamy on there. And the news anchor from NewsNation should know that. So that shows you how they don't even take Charlamagne serious, because they clearly, if they did do their research, they're not citing anything. They kind of sitting back and letting Charlamagne possibly, say whatever he's going to say to his own devices, or they actually don't know this stuff. Shout out to Jesse and shout out to Black Women Stand Up. Make it make sense, y'all. And real quick, shout out to everybody that's watching. Again, I appreciate each and every one of you all for being here. We got 69 people watching and we got 46 likes. If everybody can bang on that like button and get us to 100, that would be great.
Let's don't ignore him, you know. So how could I be a radio personality or a media personality and say I wouldn't do that? I don't think I could ever say I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, no, look, I hear you. Look, we've had Donald Trump on News Nation. We'd have him on. Certainly welcome him. Again, he's going to be the leading Republican candidate. We'd have Joe Biden on. You know, and it's interesting because people do want to kind of fit people into silos, right? And it's interesting when I see, you know, you've appeared on Fox News.
Now, the news anchors is saying how they want to fit people into silos. This is News Nation themselves are contributing to fitting black people into a silo by bringing on Charlamagne, who has been the only person that they have brought on to ask these 2024 political opinions. Would you guys agree?
The Times and Fox News Digital, and occasionally Fox News will be sort of celebrating something that you said, and then they'll be ignoring a lot of other stuff that you said.
Yeah, especially when in regards to Donald Trump, because, you know, I give it to everybody. I just call it how I see it. When you ask me about a Trump or Biden presidency, the first thing I say is I believe America deserves better. I wish we had more options, but we don't, you know, and, you know, it's being that we don't, this is what we have to.
How do we not have more options? How do we not have more options? Let me ask you guys this question. I need everybody in the comment section to name all of the presidential options that we currently have
to deal with. And I recently saw, you know, my man Killer Mike, my good brother Killer Mike, he was on Bill Maher, and I agree with what he said. He said that we need to choose policies over people.
Now, this is the one good thing. This is the one good thing that Charlamagne did. This is the one good thing that Charlamagne did, y'all. I got a stream about Killer Mike that I totally forgot to do, and I got it all set up. So when I get done with this one, I'm gonna do the Killer Mike stream in maybe about an hour or two. Sound good? That one will probably be on BLR too. I totally forgot. I'm so glad that he brought that up. So this is the one good thing that Charlamagne did, was bring that up, because we got to talk about what happened with Killer Mike.
People, and I'm always a person who believes in voting their interests, and my interest will always be the economy and preserving democracy, even though democracy hasn't worked for everyone, especially, you know, people that look like me in this country, you know, the way it should.
Now, why is it that democracy hasn't worked for people like you? Let me ask you guys a question. Is black people the failure of the United States government to provide reparations for slavery and Jim Crow? Is that a failure of democracy? Shout out to my man, Mike R. Make sure y'all show Mike R some love. Throw some like enforcers in the chat. Appreciate you being a like enforcer, bro. We're the only group of people that have lived in this country under not having democracy. We're the only group of people. Stop trying to scare the people that have already survived a democracy-less America. We were the only people that have survived America without democracy. How do you have democracy if you're a slave and you're not written into the Constitution? We survived that already. That's why we're all here. We've already beat that. We already beat that. And we're the only group of people in America or outside of America who's ever beat that. We beat America at their worst. You can't scare us without having democracy, because we can name people in our family who lived under America without democracy. We can name people in our family. We could take you to the cemetery and point them out. So you definitely ain't scaring nobody over here with that.
We still have to preserve what we have, and I believe that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. But, you know, if I say that on Fox, that wouldn't be the headline. It would be more so, you know, something I say negative about President Biden. And by the way, I don't think any of it is negative. It's just, I'm just observing what's going on in our country. I should be able to critique whoever the leader of the free world is, regardless of if I voted for him or not. I should be able to critique him because I'm a tax-paying American citizen.